So I've owned the first generation Apple AirPods for 5 years now, and they're pretty much on its last legs with pretty bad battery life, and I've been wanting some noise cancelling wireless in-ear buds, and these happen to be $50 off on Black Friday Cyber Monday of 2022. So that's when I decided to pick them up. You can check out my unboxing video that I already did on my channel earlier. But this particular video will be an in-depth, comprehensive review of these $250 retail price earbuds, so you can see if they are actually worth your hard-earned money or not. As usual, I'll have some chapter markers throughout this video, so you can skip to a particular section that you're interested if you don't want to watch the whole video. And for those of you who are coming from a first-gen AirPods Pro and is wondering what the new features are, well, I'll go ahead and highlight those features in a bubble like this. And interesting enough, if you watch my first-generation AirPods review 4 years ago, I made a few suggestions that I wanted to see in the later generation, and interestingly enough, this particular model addresses almost all of them. But let's go ahead and get started with the design and the fit. The earbuds themselves are really difficult to differentiate between the first generation, so you have to really know where to look. They did relocate the vent design a little bit because people were complaining that the vent grill irritated some people's ears. But otherwise, the design and size are largely the same, including the stem length. And just like the first gen, you do have these removable ear tips. But now, if you saw my unboxing video, they come with an extra small size, so you have extra small, small, medium, and large. And this extra small size fit my ears perfectly, so I'm so glad that they decided to include that. Now, I know people who just simply don't pick up the Pros because they don't want to have these ear tips. Well, I'm actually here to tell you that it is possible to wear these earbuds without the ear tips on them, just like the Generation 3 regular AirPods. But then you lose out on the immersiveness of the noise cancellation, which is definitely a highlight of the Pros in the first place. But I just thought I'd throw that out there because I've never seen anybody else mention that you can wear the Pros without the actual ear tips. But out of the numerous number of in-ear earbuds that I have tested, these are definitely the most comfortable. When inserted, I don't feel like there's added pressure at all, and I can wear these comfortably for hours, and I can also wear them under a winter hat in cold weather. And Apple makes it really easy to make sure you have the right fit, not only with the additional sized ear tip now, but also with the in settings fit test. The stem of the earbuds now have a multi-touch surface here to even control volume, which was not available on the first generation, so that's a huge bonus in my opinion. These earbuds are also IPX4, sweat resistant, water resistant, safe if you're caught in a downpour or if you're working out at the gym. As for the case design, it has quite a few updates as well over the first generation. It still does have that awesome snappy lid, which is a fidgeter's friend, magnets to align and hold the earbuds in the case. Also, the LED indicators still either green or orange when it's low battery or charging. There's still that reset button on the back, but now there are speakers in the charging case itself, which can get pretty loud when you're trying to use it with Find My. A little bit more on that a little bit later in this video. But also on the side, you can see there are little holes to have a lanyard. So again, more features to help you find your earbuds or to prevent them from getting lost. These also feature 2 ways of charging. As before, you can charge via the lightning port wired, or you can do wireless charging. Any kind of wireless charging pad will work, but it also is compatible with MagSafe, or if you have an Apple Watch charger, you can use that as well. These still come in the single color of apple white, so they're super easy to distinguish on the street. And yes, that plastic case still accumulates scratches like no other. But now let's talk features. So it has Bluetooth 5.3, so you have increased range. It has Apple's proprietary chip for quick connectivity between the latest Apple devices, so it's super easy to get it set up on Apple devices. There's even a dedicated section in the settings when it's paired to tweak any of the settings and check the firmware, for example. But unfortunately, it still doesn't have true 2-point connectivity. So even when I have to switch between, say, my phone and my Mac, there's still a little bit of delay, and sometimes I still have to manually press connect to switch between the two audio sources. Therefore, if you're not in Apple's ecosystem, these are kind of a harder sell. But if you are, great, because it comes with a host of features specific to Apple devices, including spatial audio with head tracking. which I was really amazed when I found out it was on. First, I was just walking away from my computer, and then I noticed that there was a change in the direction of where the sounds seemed to be coming from. It's actually really creepy, but also really impressively natural. I really appreciated this, especially when I'm watching movies, and it seemed to get better over time as if it were able to adapt to my ear shape. As for the highlight of this earbuds, the noise cancelling is really impressive. It's even better than my Bose Quiet Comfort 35 Series 2, which I've done a review on already. Because they're so effective in canceling out outside noise, I use it when I'm vacuuming, working out at the gym, or just out about in the streets, so pretty much all the time. Because they're in-ear headphones, I'm actually able to wear them when I sleep. A lot of times I have difficulty sleeping because of noise, so if you also suffer from that, these are also really great in that regard. But that's not to say that the noise cancelling is perfect. Certain sounds, such as chewing, still come through pretty loudly, so unfortunately I don't have a fix for wanting to eat crunchy food while watching movies. And with the latest update, 5B58, I did notice that the noise cancelling quality seemed to have dropped a little bit. So there's been a lot of controversy about this, especially what happened to the first gen. And unfortunately, there's no way to prevent the update from automatically coming through to your AirPods. But I don't want to get too much into that controversy. I could probably talk about it in a separate video, but right now the noise cancellation is still pretty good, but it wasn't as good as when I first got them. Now, something that is just as impressive, if not more impressive, is its transparency mode. And for the second gen, now they have adaptive transparency mode, which means it's listening to your outside environment and it is going to decrease loud, potentially hearing damaging sounds to a safer hearing level. I've tried this out in a few environments, but personally I haven't really gotten it to work really well, and I think a few people also had trouble getting it to work. So I think it's still in its early phases where it may identify certain loud jarring noises and reduce those, but for my cases, I still find that certain noises that I think are too jarring are still coming through. And actually, when I just got the earbuds and I tried the transparency mode, I actually found it to be a little bit too jarring and unnatural the way that it amplified my outside environment. But very quickly, over a few usages, it actually was able to adapt, and now the sound of the transparency mode is much more natural. Additionally, it does have certain accessibility features that you have to kind of dig around with in the settings, including live listen audio and also conversation boost, which can really help people who are hearing impaired, and this might actually be able to replace their hearing aids in some regard, maybe in the future with better firmware. But the controls are where I think it definitely has a one-up over all the other AirPods that are available currently from Apple. It has the full functionality now of the swipe controls for volume up and volume down, whereas previously you had to summon Siri and get her to change your volume, and it wouldn't happen if you weren't connected to the internet, so that was a whole nother can of worms. But I'm happy to say that all the functionality that you would want in the earbuds can now be accessible via that multi-touch surface. In addition to the swipe up and down for volume, it still has its original force touch features, including one tap to pause, play, pick up or drop phone calls, 2 presses for skipping a track, 3 presses to reverse a track, and if you hold down the button for a few seconds, you can either summon Siri or change the noise control levels. And you can customize this whole feature in the settings, so you can have it both the same on both ears or one different from each ear, making it easy if somebody wanted to just use it one earbud at a time. All of the functionality gives a little bit of feedback in your ear to know if you actually activated them correctly. For example, the swiping up and down did take a little bit of getting used to, but it has those feedbacks to know that if you did it correctly. And I'm happy to report that you can even use the controls with gloves on. But in my AirPods first gen review, I gave the idea of Apple allowing us to use the button on the AirPods as a remote shutter to take a photo or video. But unfortunately, Apple didn't take note. But they did upgrade a few of their sensors, so now it is even more precise to know whether or not your earbuds are actually in your ears to pause your music. And finally, I want to talk about their improvements to Find My. So previously, you could find your AirPods if you lost them, but they had to be under the condition that they were still in your case and also that you had them adequately charged. If they were dead or your earbuds were outside of the case, you were pretty much screwed. Well, now, if it's still not adequately charged, then you're still screwed. There's no way around that. However, there are some improvements to the ability to find the case and the earbuds separately, thanks to the U1 chip now inserted in the actual case itself, which is the same technology found in Apple's AirTags for tracking. And more precisely than ever before, you can now use your phone as if it were a metal detector. And it'd be really cool if I could just say use my phone as if it were a metal detector to find them. You're welcome, Apple, for that idea. But something I want to make clear is that this U1 chip is only located in the case itself. So it's actually a lot different with tracking down the case versus tracking down the earbuds. So here to demonstrate, these are the options I get when I try to track down the case itself. If I'm within range, an arrow will pop up telling me which direction to head to find the case. And then I also have the ability to play a sound if I wanted to hear it audibly where it is, and then the case sound speaker is actually pretty loud. But if I wanted to track down either of my earbuds, you can actually track them down individually now too. But if I wanted to track down either one of them, you can see the prompt is different. Instead of getting a nice green arrow and showing me exactly which direction to head, it's just relying if your earbuds are still connected to your phone via Bluetooth. If they're not, it's going to be very difficult to track them down. Plus, when you play a sound on the earbuds, it's really not loud at all. You have to be like absolutely quiet to try to find it. So if you're in a noisy environment, you're probably going to have a really difficult time finding your earbuds. So if you've given up hope in trying to find your earbuds, you can at least mark them as lost so nobody else can try to use them. So you can see Find My still has some issues to resolve, but at least it's a step in the right direction. Now let's talk about the sound quality. So overall, for most people, I think the sound quality is fine. Is it worth the $250 for sound quality alone? Definitely not. I found the mids to be kind of muddy and the bass to be a little bit lackluster. And unfortunately, Apple still doesn't have a way to let us manually tweak the EQ settings to our liking. So if sound quality is your number one concern, then these may not be the best option for you, but as an overall package with all the other features that the AirPods Pro come with, I think the sound quality is adequate for most people. As for the mic quality, for those of you who are going to use this maybe for work or for conferencing, they turn out okay. Let's just go ahead and do a quick voice test here. Okay, just slipped my phone into my pocket, making sure that the microphone is actually going to be my AirPods Pro 2. I'm currently in a very quiet environment. How does my voice sound? And here's a bonus whistle. So now my voice is being picked up by the microphone in the AirPods Pro. I'm still in the same noisy environment, so it allows me to play in the background with people chattering around me. How does it sound? So I think it does a pretty good job of kind of doing its best of blowing out the background noise. Maybe there's a little bit of things seeping in here and there, but I think my voice is coming through okay. And maybe it sounds a little bit like I'm under the water. But overall, I think the microphone quality is pretty good on the AirPods Pro. But what do you guys think? Now let's talk about the battery life. One of the things that was preventing me from buying the first generation Pros was what I heard that the battery life wasn't that great. But with these second generation, Apple is advertising for about 6 hours on the earbuds themselves, and a total of up to 30 hours total with the charging case. So my experience with the earbuds advertised listening time is pretty accurate. I would say I can probably get about 6 hours if I really squeeze it. But the charging case battery, oof, that really sucks. And looking online, it appears that I am not the only one suffering from a case that dies within pretty much 3 days, even if I didn't even use the earbuds. And that has to do with Find My. The feature of always being able to track down your earbuds as well as your case, and also to see your battery life of your case and earbuds at all times, is something that was constantly draining my case's battery. Though with the latest firmware update of 5B58, I did notice that it kinda did fix a little bit of that battery drain issue. So thankfully, it looks like this is more of a software issue that can be adjusted in the future. And hopefully the next update will resolve this battery percentage discrepancy. One of the problems I had with the AirPods first generation was how quickly the battery life shortened with the constant charging of the earbuds. But thankfully, these second gen Pros do come with a little bit of a battery protection where it is smart enough to limit the charging to 80% when you don't actually need a full charge. So that's my full personal analysis after using these AirPods Pros second generation for about 3 months. Even with some of its flaws, I still think my purchase was well worth it with how many use cases I've been able to use these earbuds for. I do wish that Apple would add more customizability in the future, including noise cancellation levels, sound EQ, having actual 2-point connection, more flexibility if using it with non-Apple devices, and maybe adding an extra large ear tip size to accommodate people with even larger ears. But until then, if you guys are interested in picking this up, definitely check out the link in the description. It's an affiliate link so you can help support the channel. Thanks for watching, and definitely subscribe if you aren't already.